Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Endeavour News. I am your host, Hector, and I'm here with my co host, Gilbert.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And we're also here with very special guest, Alex Newman.
How are you doing,
Great to
sir?
be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'll leave it to Gilbert to introduce our guest further.
Awesome. As we all know, or as hopefully you know by now, Pastor Alex Newman is a highly respected author, journalist, educator, founder of Liberty Sentinel, and he's really got great analysis on globalism and education and geopolitics. And he's been defending the rights of Americans for a very long time now. So we're super honored and privileged to have him on, and hopefully we can take some inspiration from him. He doesn't have a lot of time with us though, so we're going to get right into it. Um, Pastor Newman, so America is perhaps going under its biggest test since its founding. In trying times like these, we're very lucky to have a man of great faith like yourself. Um, and as I understand it, you were at the UN 2.0 summit, or and is there anything that you can kind of glean? So what happened there, and what did you manage to glean from it? And could you chunk it down for us by telling what they're planning for the world next? Is it simply a acceleration of everything they're doing already?
Well, thank you again, gentlemen. And yes, I was at the UN Summit of the Future. This happened just a few weeks ago at UN headquarters in New York. It was a huge deal internally within the UN, although in the Anglosphere, there was not much about it in the news until after the Pact for the Future had been adopted. But the way the UN framed it internally is we're moving from UN 1.0, which is just devoted to, peace, security, whatever, to now UN 2.0, where in their words, we're going to strengthen global governance. And the UN's got to have a central role in education and the economy and healthcare and sustainable development and the environment and emergencies and information integrity and everything you could think of. Now they want under the purview of the United Nations. So it's a very, very dangerous summit. And the Pact of the Future that came out of this summit, I encourage people to read it. It's in total, they tacked another two agreements on there: the Declaration on Future Generations and also the Global Digital Compact. But if you read it all together, what you'll see is
Oops, sorry
they
about that.
they fully intend to turn the UN into a one world government, and they fully intend to support that with a one world economy and a one world religious system. And so that's kind of coming out of the closet now. 80 years ago when the UN was founded, they told humanity this was just about preventing war. Now, if you read the UN's own documents, this is about dealing with every conceivable problem, real and imagined, manufactured and organic, all need to fall under the purview of the UN. And so it's a power grab of historic proportions. It works in tandem with the 2030 agenda that they adopted in 2015, with the UN Agenda 21, the 100-year program for the 21st century. And taken all together, it is clear that they are now openly advocating a totalitarian one world political system. And I think any sensible person, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, regardless of where you are on religion, any sensible person ought to see that and say, wow, that's a really bad idea. Wow, we have never given our consent to that. And no, we're not going to accept that.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, really good to hear that you're leading the charge on that. We really need brave leaders like yourself, who are doing all this great stuff to point this to everybody's attention. It's very honorable. So, did you get like a you've been doing this and you've been for a long time and you've been really involved. You've really got in there. How do you feel about the internationalist clique? What do you think they're feeling right now? Do you think they're concerned, or do you think they'll have complications in rolling out their next plan, which I believe is coming soon?
They know they have problems. They know that Americans and people around the world are not buying this stuff. I mean, we don't even buy some of the foundational scams, like the climate change scam, right? The idea that human emissions of CO2 are destroying the planet and destroying the climate. No sensible person believes that, and they've got the polling data showing that the overwhelming majority of American adults reject that narrative. So they know that they're failing to persuade humanity. And so they're getting ready to use, I think, a tactic that has been tried and tested many times in the past. and that is emergencies, crises, war, as a means to getting people to accept things that they would never otherwise accept, and even to demand things that they would never otherwise accept. So the World Economic Forum started talking early last year about a polycrisis, where we'd have multiple crises fusing into one global super crisis. And very conveniently, if you read the Pact for the Future, Action Item 54 places the UN, and in particular the UN Secretary General, right at the center of all global efforts to respond to international emergencies, or what they call complex global shocks. So I suspect they are getting ready to unleash a series of complex global shocks on us, very much including war, potentially even a third world war, very much including another public health pandemic, scamdemic, whatever you want to call it, pandemic, where we will be terrorized into trying to take vaccines, quarantine in our homes, all kinds of crazy things, like we saw during COVID, although perhaps even scarier if one can imagine the propaganda going to that level.
Mm.
Also, they've been talking about a cyber attack that might knock out power, communications. They've been talking about the possibility of something happening in outer space. And to understand fully what the Pact for the Future means in Action Item 54, that puts emergencies under the jurisdiction of the UN and the UN Secretary General, we have to go back to the policy brief that informed that section of the document. And that was actually released in early 2023, again, by the Secretary General. It was a policy brief, Our Common Future, policy brief number 2. And in there, they talk about how the Secretary General, he talks about how he should be able to declare global emergencies involving climate, the environment, war, economics, something in space, a black swan event, doesn't matter, doesn't even have to be global. And then when that declaration is made, then everybody, all nations, governments, businesses, everybody would have to recognize the primary decision-making authority of multilateral agencies. In other words, international organizations like the UN and its agencies. So they're preparing, I believe, to use crises, potentially again, including a third world war, to try to advance, first of all, the size and scope of government. They just at all levels. They want local, state, federal, regional, provincial, whatever system of government you have, to have more influence, more control over the lives of citizens, and more resources with which to exercise that control. And then also, secondarily, but related, shifting power and authority from your local level, your county level, your state level, your canton, your province, whatever, to national, and then really ultimately regional governments like the European Union, the African Union, et cetera. And then finally to the international level, the United Nations, the IMF, the Bank for International Settlements, et cetera. So I believe that's coming. I believe the election coming up here could be a catalyst for unleashing some of that on at least America, if not the world, and maybe quite possibly the world. So I encourage people to hang on to their hats. It's going to be, I think, some bumpy times over the next few years, maybe even over the next decade. And I think the globalists, the deep staters, I think they're very concerned about the possibility that enough people have woken up that they'll have great difficulty imposing this. But that doesn't mean they will give up. They'll just try harder.
Right, right. And on the bright side, it certainly seems like you yourself are having a lot of great success. From what I can see, it looks like there's, as you were saying, like a mass exodus of people leaving the system because of the great work that you're doing. And if I remember correctly, you've also managed to align many Republican officials, senators, governors, committees against this next UN New World Order rollout. How's this going, and are they as knowledgeable and prepared as you are?
Well, thank you. And we're very happy that the information is getting out, and we are seeing kind of a paradigm shift in the United States. The support for the UN and globalism was largely bipartisan, even up until recent times. But we're seeing something extraordinary happening now. We're seeing a growing sense, at least among Republicans. It hasn't quite shifted into the Democrat Party yet, but we're seeing a growing awareness among Republicans, especially at every level, in Congress, governor's offices, mayors, county commissions, growing recognition that the UN is a threat not just to our national sovereignty, but even to our most fundamental and precious rights, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, our right to keep and bear arms. And so we've seen now really escalating resistance in a way that is unprecedented, at least in my lifetime. Right now, we've got bills in both houses of the U.S. Congress, the House and the U.S. Senate, to withdraw from the United Nations entirely. It's called the Defund Act, the Disengaging Entirely from the United Nations Debacle Act. We've got a Senate version introduced by the great Senator Mike Lee in Utah, and we've got a House version introduced by the great Congressman Chip Roy of the state of Texas. Now, at the governor level, we have 50 states, and each state has its own elected governor. We've got more than half of the nation's governors now, and I have spoken to quite a few of them about this issue. The need to get out of the UN, and especially, at least for now, ignore their demands. And so we have 26 of them who came out publicly and said, we will not obey the United Nations. We will not obey the World Health Organization on any of these silly things that they're working on involving public health. They said very clearly, and they're correct, that the U.S. Constitution does not give even the federal government power over public health policy. And so, where in the world does the federal government, in particular the Biden administration, get off thinking that they can delegate that power that they don't have to an international bureaucracy run by a former ethno-Marxist terrorist leader, Dr.
Mm.
Tedros Ghebreyesus at the World Health Organization? So they are all committed now publicly to refusing to obey, implement, or even adhere to any of these policies coming out of the WHO. We've got local governments now across the United States passing measures saying they're not going to comply with this. And we've got states now, more and more states passing laws rejecting any UN involvement in their jurisdiction. So over a decade ago, the state of Alabama voted unanimously in both houses of their legislature to ban the implementation of the UN Sustainable Development Schemes. We had Louisiana just earlier this year, unanimous vote in the Louisiana Senate. It was passed into law, signed into law by the governor, refusing to obey any UN decrees involving the World Health Organization or public health generally. So we are seeing a sea change here that we have not seen in America over the last 80 years that we've had this UN. Public sentiment is rapidly shifting here as well. People are becoming aware. And so I'm very, very grateful that people are coming to their senses on this issue and recognizing that the UN isn't just some nice talk shop where we're going to try to preserve peace. Really, it is a threat to everything that we hold dear. And so it's, I think, very, very encouraging to see this development.
Yeah, that is hugely encouraging, and I think everybody around the world again has to thank you for yeah, really leading the charge on that, and it's good to hear that it's very hopeful. It's very hopeful. That sounds really good. Those developments. So that's I mean, what I always say. People just got to get involved, folks, and really take the initiative, like Pastor Newman is doing here. So, with all things considered, what are your thoughts on the upcoming election right now? As we're seeing, I think it's pretty obvious. Most people prefer Trump. I believe he would hamper the efforts of the UN and other communist agencies who are trying to collapse the US and the West. Certainly more than Kamala, obviously. However, something to note, we are seeing some strange figures coalesce around Trump, such as J.D. Vance of the PayPal Mafia, a former employee of Peter Thiel of Palantir, Mark Zuckerberg, who of course owns Facebook. Basically, a lot of these, big tech Silicon Valley elite affiliated people seem to be have in recent times have sort of coalesced around Trump. And over the course of a couple of years now they suddenly support him. It seems a little bit dubious, doesn't it? To me, I'll just say it seems that even in the event of a Donald Trump presidency, patriotic Americans will still have their work cut out for them. I mean, what is your feeling of that, or your thoughts on that? That recent all these new figures, shall we say, coming around Trump to who suddenly these big big tech censorship people, all of a sudden they support him. But what are your thoughts, Pastor Newman?
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation. We do seem to have a lot of people in Wall Street and a lot of people in Silicon Valley resigning themselves to the fact that there's a real chance Donald Trump is going to be elected president of the United States. And I think they're trying to curry favor right now by pretending to be aligned with him, pretending to support him in anticipation of a possible or maybe even a probable Trump victory. With the election coming up, I have no doubt that if we have an honest election, Donald Trump is going to crush the other side in an incredible landslide. Whether we'll have an honest election, that's a whole nother question. But as you can see on the screen, if you're watching us, even the establishment models show Donald Trump just absolutely crushing Kamala Harris and Waltz in this silly contest here. But Donald Trump is very aware of what's happening. In fact, he was just speaking the other day at a barber shop. I think it was in the Bronx about the misleading that happened during the first administration, where snakes in the grass were telling him to appoint certain people to certain agencies, and he didn't know who he could trust. He made a lot of bad appointments in that sense. He still got a lot accomplished in terms of setting back the New World Order agenda. One of the things that I think he was most successful on was actually dismantling big parts of the UN. He got us out of the World Health Organization. He got us out of UNESCO, the UN's education agency. He got us out of the UNRWA. He got us out of the Paris Agreement. He got us out of the UN Compact on Migration. He slapped sanctions on the International Criminal Court for threatening to investigate Americans. He went to the floor of the General Assembly and told them all, hey, you morons, you ought to be supporting your own country. It should be your country first, not globalism. And in America, we're not going to go along with that. The globalists are going to fail. Patriots are going to win. So I am encouraged by that. And I think part of the reason we see some of these establishment figures now aligning themselves with Trump is they recognize that if he wins, they're going to want to try to restrain him. They're going to want to try to put a harness on him, a bit in his mouth, if you can use an analogy, to try to keep him under control, to try to mislead him, like they did in some very obvious instances in the first administration. Whether they will succeed with that or not remains to be seen. I think he's got a much better sense this time going into this about who his real friends are and who his fake friends are. So I'm hopeful that we'll see a lot of good appointments. I have no doubt that some evildoers will slip in to the administration. It happened on a large scale last time. I don't think it'll be as bad this time. I, of course, would not have chosen J.D. Vance as the vice presidential candidate. I think there were other better options, but I don't know everything that Donald Trump knows. He may know something that we don't. And I do want to remind people, too, even if Donald Trump is everything that we hope he will be, and he may or may not be, right? Even if he is, he's not going to be able to fix this mess on his own. At best, this is going to be, stopping the bleeding, applying a tourniquet while we get to the real work of fixing these problems. Politics is, of course, downstream from culture, and culture is downstream from education. So if we're going to, it took us generations to get into this mess, generations of indoctrinating, brainwashing, dumbing down our children in the schools, generations of fake news, manipulating the perception of Americans. And so this isn't something that's going to be solved in one election. The Bible always says, don't put your trust in men. Don't put your trust in princes. Put your trust in God and God alone. If you go to Psalm 146, there's a very, very clear warning about this. And I would just remind people, even if you love Donald Trump, and I hope he wins, I think he'll be one of the best presidents of my lifetime, certainly if he is able to get back in there. But the Bible says in Psalm 146, starting in verse 3, put not your trust in princes, in a son of man in whom there is no salvation. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish. Blessed is he whose help is in the God of Jacob, whose help is in the Lord his God, who made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, who keeps faith forever, who executes justice for the oppressed, and who gives food to the hungry. So our hope needs to be in God, not in a man. We need to recognize that Donald Trump is not God. He cannot fix all these problems himself. He's going to need a lot of help from, of course, God, and he's going to need a lot of help from the American people to start rebuilding the foundations of our culture. And of course, that begins with strong families. That begins with proper education. And I think it's going to be a very interesting election. I think Donald Trump is going to be able to pull it off unless they cheat massively. No matter what happens, there's going to be unrest. The other side, of course, is not just going to allow Donald Trump to march back into the White House unimpeded. They'll try to burn down our cities. They might even try to start a war. They might try to knock out the power grid. Who knows what they're liable to do? But I am hopeful that we'll see some good things coming out of this election, but just with the caveat that, this is not even a political issue that we're dealing with here at its core. We're talking about a spiritual battle here. We're talking about an educational battle, a battle for the family. And that is what is going to truly make America great.
Excellent. Yeah, you're really hitting on all cylinders there. Totally in line with you there, man. That's great. Recently you were actually at Mar-a-Lago, and you were talking to Trump and
About an
some of his
educational
close
battle,
friends
about
and family. So, what was what was the feeling you got from him? Was anything interesting mentioned that you could potentially mention to us? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem.
Mm.
And so, yes, we were in Mar-a-Lago earlier this week. It was my second time at Mar-a-Lago. I went there to give a talk earlier this year on what was going on in the schools. And President Trump himself was not able to attend that, but we did have some of his family and some of his good friends there. So that was encouraging. And there's a lot of good things happening at Mar-a-Lago. This time around, we were there to watch the premiere of a new movie. He invited some friends and family to come watch this incredible new documentary, The Man You Don't Know. And he of course is very serious about winning this election. He's focused on that like a laser right now. But I did in talking to his friends and his family, it's very obvious that we are getting a distorted picture of who he is from the media. I mean, right now, if you look at the fake news, the top news story at the moment is that Trump is literally Hitler. Trump is going to round up his political opposition and he's going to use the military. I mean, it's so utterly preposterous. When you talk to this guy's friends, people who've known him for 60 years, when you talk to his family, you talk to his employees, right? People who have worked for him for decades. What you find is a guy who's a human being, right? Where we all have flaws, but a guy who really is tenderhearted. I mean, some of the acts of charity that he never takes credit for these things, right? But his friends, his family, his employees become aware of these. He'll watch TV and he'll see some family has a tragedy strike, their house burns down, whatever, and he'll just write a check and not even tell anybody, just send it down. So you get a really different picture of a man who really is decent. Yes, flawed, but really fundamentally decent. Not this kind of Hitler monster that the fake media would like you to believe. So I'm encouraged by some of the people that he has surrounding him. I'm encouraged by learning a little bit more about his character. I did offer my assistance to some of his key people when he comes back into the White House to help him try to avoid the very pitfalls that we were just discussing. I've been studying the deep state, if you will, that is opposing Trump uh, very, very thoroughly for over 15 years now. So I've become acquainted with a lot of the names, a lot of the people. And so, I did volunteer my services if that would be helpful to them to help try to avoid nominating for sensitive positions some of these swamp monsters, some of these deep staters that would only work to sabotage his agenda. And we'll see what comes out of that. But I would encourage people to just be in prayer for him and for the election more broadly. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of pressure on this man. I frankly, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how you could endure, the assassination attempts and the efforts to destroy your company and the efforts to throw you in jail and still keep doing it with a smile on your face. I just don't know how that's even possible. So keep this man in prayer. Keep his family in prayer. Keep our country in prayer because it's tough and there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better, Alex. I mean, here in New Zealand and Australia, like we're really, we really do pray for you guys. I mean, because we really need America to be big and strong and completely fearless. I mean, it's I don't want to put the pressure on anybody, of course, but America is kind of the place that needs to be the place that sort of dictates to the rest of these dictators to basically shove off and not get so cocky with their this push for new world order. So I mean we're really counting on you guys and yeah, everybody should be praying for America and for Pastor Newman, with the great work he's doing. So that's great that you're kind of helping people through this, and so you're playing a really integral role in the future of America. So I guess just cognizance of time, you advocate all kinds of things. What one of those things being education in the proper way of schooling your children, mainly homeschooling. Hector and I, we certainly, after seeing the terrifying things that are happening in New Zealand, we've been urging people who listen in and urging just friends and family to take their kids and their nieces and nephews out of school and homeschool them. So that's one thing to protect the future generation from the communists. Um, so what with this constantly evolving situation, what is there's that, and then what else is there to protect the United States and the future of the Western world? What other things with this evolving situations? What else would you advocate for us here in New Zealand to do?
Well, I would echo what you just said. I think one of the most important things that everybody can do right now is protect their children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews from this horror show that is the government education system. And this is a global problem now, right? UNESCO is now increasingly dictating what's going to be taught in classrooms around the world. It really is incredibly dangerous to the minds, hearts, and souls of our children. So pull them out of the government system. Find a good option. I love homeschooling. I think it's the gold standard. I've got my kids enrolled in Classical Conversations, where I serve as a senior fellow. I serve on the board of the Freedom Project Academy. It's an online K through 12 school. I serve as the volunteer executive director for Public School Exit, where people can get information on pulling their kids out, why, how, etc. So that's a big passion of mine. My new book deals with that very issue. It's called Indoctrinating Our Children to Death, how government schools war on faith, family, and freedom, and how to stop it. It's been endorsed by great Americans like General Michael Flynn, National Security Advisor, and many, many others. So I would encourage people to get well informed on that, encourage people to protect their own children on that front. And then also just be active, right? We all have different talents, different skills, different areas of influence that God has given us. And so use whatever gifts and talents and resources God has given you for the cause of truth and righteousness and the kingdom. And that's going to look different for everybody, but some things we all ought to be doing: protecting our children, getting them a good education, reading our Bibles, praying, being active in the civil sphere, doing all things to the glory of God as unto the Lord, not as unto man. And just following those simple rules, you'll be in really good shape. And I do believe that's how we rebuild Christendom, Western civilization, individual liberty, and all the things that once made the West so great.
Amen. Amen. Awesome. That's a great message. Are you happy to go a bit over, or I'm just wary of your time?
No, unfortunately, I've got another appointment in 1 minute, but I would
No,
encourage
no
people, if you want
worries.
to get access to free information, we send out a newsletter twice a week. It's free, libertysentinel.org. You can subscribe right there. We'll send you whatever information that we're working on, whether it's exposing the UN, the political, educational. We're always on different subjects, but you can find that right there at our website, libertysentinel.org. You can go to libertysentinel.org/subscribe, or to the homepage. You'll have a little bar. Just put your email in. We'll send you twice a week free newsletter. And thank you again, gentlemen, for having me. It's been a real pleasure. God bless you. And I hope we can talk again.
God
God
bless.
bless you. Thank you so much, man. Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Take care.
Take
Take
care.
care. You too.
Oh, that was awesome. That was really good, Hector. I mean, to me, Hector, that is just like that is the kind of person, the kind of role model for especially for our younger viewers, but also all our viewers, that is the man that everybody should aspire to be, fully involved in his community, talking to officials, talking, really involving oneself in this battle, this great game between good and evil. You can tell he is someone who really gets it, and who's really on the cutting edge of you know what really is going on. There's so many deluded people, so many people who are into their movies, their Netflix, their video games, all kinds of, but he is really right there, on the margin of it all, trying to lead, be a leader, and really fight, and really change things, which I think everybody listening to this, especially you young fellas, really check him out, look at what he's doing, research him, and try and emulate this guy, try and see what he's like, and a real stand-up professional guy who loves God, who bases his morality and direction in life on the Bible, on Jesus Christ, and he reflects that out to protecting Western civilization, protecting our nations, and our children. He's like he was comparing, talking about Donald Trump. He's there for everyone. He's there for the kids. He's
No, it's
there
actually
for
he's sort of
people.
like like it's
Mm,
like a jack of all trades, but he's actually sort of good at everything instead of like the
Yeah.
master of none. He's like the master of everything. He's like
Yeah.
involved with homeschooling his children in his community. He's a
mm,
pastor. He's a journalist. He's,
mm.
uh, you know,
Author.
he's
Mm,
advising like Trump directly, author.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
actually pretty nuts. Like, he's a very roundabout, very intelligent, very motivated guy.
Mm. Oh yeah. This is what you and I keep telling people, Hector. You need to be someone like this. Like, this guy's perfect. This guy's everyone should, aspire to be like this guy, and he's been at this for 15 years, and then you've got another preliminary sort of maybe 10 to 15 years before that, forming all your opinions and figuring things out. But we need people to actually engage and activate and talk to other people, and Hector and I, we're doing that, and but we need you guys to do that as well. And I've got to say, I'm so thankful, Hector, for people like Pastor Newman, who really show everybody the way. Like I just can't stress enough. I really wanted to, because Hector, like in our kind of sphere of things, you see a lot of young kids want to get involved in some kind of really weird stuff, and it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of, it doesn't really go anywhere. But you can see through this guy, with enough discipline and hard work and patience, and strategy. Got to think about strategy and tactics. With enough of that, playing it all out, you can be a truly effective person, a truly effective man for God. As Hector was saying, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's advising Trump and other Republican officials. He's really out there. So this is the man that you can become if you want to. So yeah, I feel really blessed right now that we had this. I really encourage you guys to look at the Liberty Sentinel, check them out, and because we all need to be, try to simulate, Pastor Newman ourselves. We all need to be that guy. Yeah, Hector, did you have any? I'm talking a lot. Did you have any more thoughts on that
Yeah.
interview and how it went?
Yeah, I think, well, short but sweet. Obviously, he didn't have much time because he's a very busy guy, and seeing all the stuff he does, that's not really surprising. So, yeah, pretty blessed that he
Mm,
was able to make some time for us, for our, channel in New Zealand. And yeah,
mm,
Liberty Sentinel, great site. Just look at some of these headlines. Donald Trump's real friends reveal who he really is. Communist China's goal for world dominance and its enablers at home. Blueprint for UN global control. Like, real good journalism here, and that's just one of the many things that he does. So, real good stuff.
yeah. Absolutely, he's a real Renaissance man. A real. I mean, this kind of person, and I really. It may seem a little weird, but I am stressing his character because it is important in nationalist politics that we are like people like this man who is a nationalist, and not someone like Berlusconi or something like who goes around drinking and carousing with ladies of the night, shall we say? This is you could say that. Well, could you even say he presents the veneer of nationalism? You people get what I'm trying to say, right? We need to be disciplined, intelligent, onto it, smart. Yeah, I mean, just look at his ex. Look at his books, but
Yeah, look,
also, I
he's
mean,
confronting the UN's Department of Global Communications head. So,
look, they're all cat ladies. It's
yeah,
a
like
little bit.
HR cat ladies. It's sort of interesting, isn't it? Should we watch this, see what it
Jeez.
actually is?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Let's have a look at what he's doing. Maybe we should just
Yeah,
watch his video because we didn't really have time to play it because he was.
yeah. Let's see. That's a good idea. Yeah. This is good production quality.
Yeah. Or is this the UN's? No, this is.
Alex Newman here
No, no.
with the New American Magazine. We're standing outside the SDG Media Zone, and Melissa Fleming, the UN Undersecretary General for Communications, she's the communications czar, the top communications boss of the United Nations, is talking about the importance of journalism and a free press and an information.
I have a feeling they don't actually believe that,
so
do
that we
they?
can fight the proliferation
Just
of
a wild
misinformation,
guess.
disinformation, hate speech. We've got an important
Oh, yeah,
question
they're talking
because
about hate
she
speech, of
announced in
course they are.
2022 at the World Economic Forum a partnership with Google to silence voices that were countering the UN's narrative. Here she is talking about this.
We partnered with Google, for example. If you Google climate change, you will, at the top of your search,
like a
you will
vampire.
get all
Yeah.
kinds of
Why do
UN
all our enemies just
resources.
look like vampires? It's sort of
We
weird.
started this partnership when we were
Physiognomy is
shocked
real.
to see
Yeah.
that when we Googled climate change, we were getting incredibly distorted information right at the top. So we're becoming much more proactive. We own the science, and we think that the world
Own the science.
You own the science.
The platforms
Oh, yeah.
themselves also
We
do.
own reality.
But
right.
again, it's.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They actually do
it
want to
is,
own reality.
it's-
Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole
huge,
point of
Oh, yeah.
these
huge challenge that I
organizations
think
and, like,
all
communism and
sectors of
globalism.
society need to be very active in.
So we want to find out, what is the criteria that the UN and Google are using to silence people who are putting out information that contradicts their narrative? Let's go see what Melissa has to say. Melissa, hi, I'm Alex Newman with the New American Magazine. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the partnership that the UN has with Google to try to squelch disinformation and misinformation. You talked about it at the 2022 World Economic Forum.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm not sure who you are.
I don't know who you are,
With
dude.
the New American, I'm a journalist.
I don't know you, dude.
As soon as you say something intelligent,
Yeah, they just like,
they,
instead of
they
just,
jump
yeah,
out.
yeah, as soon as you say something, it's like, wow, great speech, I can't believe it. Just ask like simple questions. I don't know you, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
The New American. Wait, this is a channel about journalism, right?
Would you like maybe to give me your card or something?
They get so
But I'd rather just ask
they
my
get so
question.
flustered.
He's like the only white man there as well.
Yeah, they're all women.
With some of the guests here.
They're all.
I don't have the card for the organization I'm representing today, but I'll be happy to give you my contact information.
Okay.
Yep.
Look at that. They're so defensive.
You can just ask her questions, and I can't. I don't
We
understand.
had planned this before.
Oh,
have
we
to
did.
plan it.
We're not discriminating against media outlets, are we?
No, no.
Oh, okay. I hope. It seems like everybody can ask her questions except me. Huh?
I don't think that this is even.
What?
She doesn't even.
It's not, she can't even put a sentence together.
Yeah.
It's like
Notice he's just like boom, 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 like saying it.
asking
Yeah.
simple, reasonable
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
Just facilitating the discussion.
Yeah, we're not recording you. We're trying to ask her a few questions about a subject that's of great interest to millions of Americans.
We're recording. Isn't this like a journalism event?
Yeah.
And the surprise people are recording?
No, we're in a public place. This is America. I guess you're not American, huh?
No, I'm not American.
I'm not American, so I don't have to
When
follow
you're in
your
a public
laws.
place and you're asking questions, it's obviously.
I'm also a journalist.
Oh, yeah?
Right, and I always ask permission before I.
Well, I didn't even want to talk to you. I was actually trying to ask Melissa Fleming a question. Yeah.
This is crazy.
So I have your contact,
Okay.
and
Yeah, we have some questions that are of interest to millions of Americans who pay a third of the budget of the United Nations. And it'd be very good if we could get them answered. So whenever you have a chance, please contact me. I'll be here until tonight. And very much appreciate
I have a
the
feeling they
opportunity
didn't
to speak
contact
with
them.
Ms. Fleming.
tonight
Yeah.
might be a bit tight because I mean I wish you could
It's a bit tight.
ask.
Well, we can do it by Zoom later.
It's
whatever works good
amazing.
for you guys. But these are very important questions that a lot of people want to know the answer to, including our readers in Congress, our readers in state legislatures. A lot of people want to know. So thank you. Wow, clearly not a lot of interest in revealing the formula and the censorship mechanism with Google. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't want to talk about it if I had said that either.
It's like, why even
there you
say
go.
it then?
This is
Like,
the
yeah.
summit of the future. This is what they mean when they talk about freedom of information, freedom of speech. It's for them, not for you.
That's basically
Right.
the
Had a
whole.
few words when they canceled
That's
us.
basically like sums up the ideology of like UN and communists. Like it's all for
Yeah.
them and nothing for like the anyone that's not part of this 1% globalist clique.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about that. And they go about it like, oh, we're so liberal. Oh, look at us. We're women and we're wearing, stylish, Berlusconi clothes or whatever. And, with our Gucci handbags.
Come on, mate.
And
You're just jealous that they're wearing Balenciaga or whatever it is.
yeah, what are they, Pucci or I don't know what they
Gucci.
call these, oh, Gucci. It's not
Gucci, yeah, not
Yeah,
Gucci.
not Pucci. I was
Pucci.
forgetting all these every Italian name sounds like an Italian like like handbag product or something or clothing line product. So
Yeah.
it's hard, yeah. But sort of like how every Chinese name sounds like a dish, But anyway, we so yeah, what okay, reacts because I think that was crazy. Isn't it crazy how he was just asking them a question
About stuff they
just
already said. Yeah.
yeah about stuff that they said, and you look at their faces and their postures, they get so defensive. I mean, it's crazy over just asking a question about what they said. They really must. I mean, what do you think that is, Hector? Do you think that they know what they're saying is wrong, or are they just cowards?
I think they're just cowards. I think that's pretty much it. They don't want to answer any questions from anyone that is even isn't remotely completely in their sphere already, asking the easiest, simplest, friendliest questions possible. So if someone just
Mm.
asks like completely normal, easy questions, but they're not 100% on board, they're like a little bit, they get a bit of a vibe. Oh, this guy's not part of us. They just don't even want to do it because they're just, yeah, like you said, complete cowards.
Yeah, yeah, and they're probably used to men who are just, will bend over backwards for them to
Yes,
open
Queen, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean
the.
to question your authority.
Yeah, yeah, because he didn't even like he's got real Chad energy. He comes with the energy as well as the big hitting questions, the actually intelligent good questions.
Yes,
But he wasn't coming over aggressive or anything. He was very friendly. But yeah, they just totally wet themselves basically. It's like, come on. I mean, these are the people. See, it's not hard, people. It's not hard. You show like an ounce of bravery like he did. I mean, these people crumple. I mean, I imagine if we were all invested like he is into this game. So, I mean, it's not. I shouldn't call it a game, but you know what I mean. It's like a complex strategy. Is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. That.
absolutely.
Sorry.
Oh, just saying absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, again, highly recommend everybody check him out. He's got there. He is like so knowledgeable. Like it is incredible the amount of knowledge he has about the UN and the history of things and the ins and outs of history. He covers it all. Like he is. You won't you will really gain a lot of knowledge from following this guy. He's got videos all over YouTube. He's got all kinds of books. He's got his Liberty Sentinel. So I mean this guy is really this guy really is the guy to follow. So yeah, make sure you check him out and also just again I stress get an idea of what the kind of people we need to be as nationalists and as Christians and as people who are going to save our country, because this is a global internationalist communist revolution that they are trying to, yeah, cede all our sovereignty and our rights. And I mean, you look into this stuff, it is truly hellish. I mean, you think 2 years of COVID was bad? I mean, wait till they keep going with all their agendas and their plans that they want to roll out. I mean, it's there's going to be nothing like it. I mean, people let it get this far, and people were so super pissed off over 2 years or 2 years plus of lockdowns. I mean, what they have coming is nothing compared to the. So I mean, it's like nobody can. I feel like nobody can ignore this anymore. Like everybody just has to organize, everybody just has to become involved, everybody unfortunately has to become political, you know like a lot of the far left, walking through the institutions, everything is about politics. Well, everything has to be about defending our culture and our history, our traditions, our god, our religion, defending our ancestors and defending the ones who will come after us. Mm,
Absolutely.
mm, mm,
Absolutely. But yeah, just look at this blog. Real great stuff he's writing about him and his team. Simply epic. Yeah, real. Make sure you subscribe to his blog, subscribe to his mailing list, follow him on X, follow his X. You get real great stuff on X, along with his, actual, on the ground journalism. So
mm,
this is a
mm.
channel you don't want to miss out on.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Should we keep going, Hector, or?
Yeah, yeah. Any topics you want to cover?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. I guess we've got this election coming up.
Yeah, should we just talk about that a little bit? Maybe we'll just cover a bit of election, then we'll maybe call it a
Yeah.
day because we've already done a stream this week and we
Mm,
need to prep for
yeah.
the next one, I guess. So
Yeah, but by the way, check out our interview with Dr. Smart. That was really interesting.
yeah,
You guys
check
should
out the
check that.
replay.
Yeah. I just want to say another thing he's really good on is he's really good on China's influence in the UN. So it's like another like we have to be focused on these intergovernmental organizations that are dictating to us, even as far away as New Zealand. So like yeah, I mean China is and Russia too, that they deeply, I mean we've seen recently, Antonio Guterres and Tedros, who is an open communist, and of course we know Schwab and so many of them are some form of weird socialist Marxist. And yeah, and then on top of that, you have like certain U.S. generals and colonels and stuff, and all people from various types of life, being real, chumming it up with the Russians and just like having dinner with them, having drinks with them and stuff. And it's like, it's all really weird stuff, but this is what's happening. You have a whole class of people abandoning us to their enemies and to these intergovernmental communist front organizations who are taking our rights away, our sovereignty away, and making us more like the quality of life in China, in Russia, in Iran, in North Korea. I mean, we do not want to end up there. And it's like we can't do it. We can't like give up who we are as humans. So it's like I also think that's why we everybody needs to really be involved with New Zealand first, because we saw Hector and I covered the deals that were made that came out between Luxon and Seymour with Winston. Do you remember that, Hector? When
Yes.
everybody was chimping out, "Oh, we want the government now!" Like a
Yeah, I know
bunch
it's
of
ridiculous,
guinea
right? They go,
pigs. Yeah,
oh, they're like, they what? They want like the government to just like not have a good deal and just start doing
yeah,
whatever. I mean, wouldn't you want them to have a sit down, negotiate what their actual policies are going to be, so you can have a effective and stable government instead of people just, doing whatever they want the entire time? It's like, oh no, they had to sit down for 2 weeks to form a government. It's like, what
yeah.
are you stupid? Like that's like
Yeah,
actually pretty quick.
yeah, yeah. I mean, heck, I mean, shut the government down for a while
Yeah,
if it
exactly.
means that we get our freedom and sovereignty. Like, I don't see what like what a bunch of slaves. Like,
I need
I
the
want
government
my government.
now.
I
Yeah.
want my new world order government now, and I want them to give me my jabs and my blah de blah de blah. So it's just like it's really. I mean, people are. I've just from that and from this election, I think Hector and our perspective on people has really I know my perspective of people has really changed, but we still need these people, wherever they are on the political spectrum. We still need these people to you know bring about change to our country. So we've got to kind of try and reach everybody where they are. um, but at the same time, it's probably more important that, well, it is more important that we try and reach people of influence and people who are
Yeah, like
motivated,
like
like
Alex
people.
Newman is, like he's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
Like Mar-a-Lago and talking to Trump and stuff.
Yeah, we need
Mar-a-Lago, not Mars-a-Logo. I don't think he's
Mars logo.
I don't think
I like,
Elon set it up on Mars-let. Mar-a-Lago, sorry.
yeah, Mars. Yeah, Mars logo. Elon Musk and Trump.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. But yeah, no, that's so. I mean, yeah, I mean, first, like, I mean, because Hector and I, we can personally attest that we've met a lot of people, and personally, it's the people who are, yeah, people who are motivated, but
And actually
people,
doing things, not people that are sitting there and just ideas guys. Oh, do this, and then they do nothing
yeah,
themselves.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, Hector and I can kind of like, yeah, yeah, do if you have all these ideas, okay, great, but the question is, what are
Why
you
don't you
doing?
actually do it? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good to have
Why don't it?
ideas.
Yeah.
Actually do something, and that's why people should just be active. Do something, like at least just like join New Zealand first, especially like the youth
Yes.
wing and stuff like that, because
Yes.
that's where the future of this country and the future of the New Zealand First Party is getting good people into the party. So the party, it's not 100% there now, but if we get the
Mm,
right people in there, in a fairly short time period, like 3 years, maybe even before the next election, it'll be a much better party, much aligned to people like us, people like Gimpsy, people like Tabua, like
mm,
trying to have
mm,
a positive influence on this party, which could then have a positive influence on a future right-wing coalition government. So it's not
mm,
even like that hard of a concept. It's just like
mm.
it's pretty easy to figure out if you just think about it for like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, just 2 minutes. Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. So it's not hard, guys. You just gotta like be professional, like Pastor Newman, and try and emulate yourself off of him, and copy him, and be like him, and yeah, and like we all see the same thing with the UN, and the Jacinda and Luxon government, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, this is, and we're actually kind of lucky in New Zealand that we have New Zealand first, because a lot of
Australia
places.
is like has one nation, and they're like that party's way worse than New Zealand First. So
Yeah. So I mean, it's like for us. I mean, it's pretty obvious where we should be stacking
yeah,
all our cards into.
like Canada doesn't have anything like New Zealand First. I mean, Australia
Mm,
doesn't. Like,
America doesn't actually. I
I guess
mean,
the Republican Party's sort of getting there. So they actually
sure.
sort of do.
Yeah.
Like,
True. True. Mm,
there's been a positive shift in the Republican Party in the last, 10 years or so toward
mm,
away from like, oh, let's just cut taxes to go, oh, let's actually have some policies that are American first. Tough on the
yeah.
border, tough on immigration, protectionist, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's getting
Not
better.
globalist, like nationalist, not globalist. That
Mm.
change in the Republican Party has actually been pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting a lot better, and yeah, well, I think we all see that shift, and it can come quickly, fast enough. So yeah, we are seeing that, and hopefully the American people can just keep the pressure on, and hopefully we will too. Hopefully we will too, and I encourage everybody to do that. And yeah, maybe Hector and I, will maybe, yeah, we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, anyway. It's a good thing. Also, another thing to mention about New Zealand First is that they've been doing some good stuff on the UN recently.
Yeah, it'd be good
So
if they pulled out of the World Health Organization, but we need to have that pressure there to push the party in that direction.
yeah,
Instead of
yeah.
just complaining all the time, it's like, well, actually
Oh yeah,
try push the party in that direction because that's your best chance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Try be effective in real life and do real things. Don't just dress up like a clown and break dance in the middle of um, the middle of the street, and start screaming and beatboxing, at someone's funeral. It's like I see people doing all this weird stuff, and it's like,
Well,
okay,
like the boomers dancing at Jacinda's wedding or whatever.
yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
mean,
sort of cool,
yeah,
but
well, I mean, that's kind of good content and stuff, and I see, yeah, I mean, I'm saying that very broadly, like it's just there's a lot of stuff that people can do, and there's a right time and a right place for everything, I guess, but it's just the main thing is you want to work at something that is effective, and not fritter your time away with useless pursuits that don't really do much, So I just want to, yeah, but if people don't understand that, then maybe it is better that they do something else. And at the end of the day, we just need a bunch of really intelligent, highly motivated, strategically minded people to do that. Because to be honest, like not everybody can do this. Some people are just weird,
yeah, true,
and
true.
it's like yeah, it is what it is, But if we can reach the top
Some
people,
people are just spurgs. It's sort of
yeah,
a bit annoying. Like
yeah,
maybe if
yeah.
you're a spurg, actually don't do anything. Like that's my advice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. No, no, that's good advice. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Hector. Like if you are actually like a spurg, like it's
Maybe just leave it to the professionals if you are a spurg.
and I kind of jokingly call myself a spurg sometimes,
Oh, but
and
I mean,
and
there's some actual spurgs out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
So.
yeah. When we say spurgs, we don't mean like, like people who are just like, oh, whoa, like I just like did all this online research and found out that the UN is full of all these like communists, and then you've got the PayPal mafia, and oh, it's like these big revelatory sort of video compilations you see on X and YouTube of oh, whoa, the New World Order and stuff. Like we're not talking about you, like people who like understand this is a really deep and comprehensive and vast plan, like that they're rolling out on white Western people. But we're saying like people who actually have like, if you're actually like, yeah, have some conditions, should we say? Yeah, maybe just work on yourself and try, yeah, just
Yeah, it's
work
like
on,
if you watch
yeah.
anime, then just sit down. Maybe don't get involved with New Zealand first. Like that's sort of like a good general rule.
Okay, that's a good principle. Okay, so yeah, I think NZ first is a good place to stack our cards into. Okay, so looking at this map,
Yeah,
here's what we're
we'll get
seeing.
into that now. Yeah.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I just feel that was important. So it looks like if we can put this into the analogy of a WWE match, Trump is spinning Kamala around his head and like slamming her like from side to side on the ground,
Yeah.
holding on to her leg, kind of like what Hulk did to Loki in Avengers. I know soy reference, but I'm just saying that's like Trump, and he's just like waving her around, So she's getting absolutely smashed.
Yeah, it's looking sort of grim for Kamala. I mean, to be fair, yeah, like it doesn't matter. The thing that matters the most is obviously the election day itself, but these indicators are looking really bad for Kamala. Like, it's actually sort of shocking how quickly, like it seemed like, remember how everyone was talking about Jacinda fever in New Zealand, you know, 5 years ago? Oh, it's
Mm.
Jacinda mania. Everyone loves it, and people were like,
That was
yeah.
Go 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 go
And so
go.
it seemed like America had their own version of like Kamala Mania or
Yeah.
something, but it seemed like that wore off within like a month. So it seems like Trump's
Yeah.
already back on top.
Yeah.
I never really got what people saw in Kamala. She sounds like she's trying to sell you something. It's like she sounds like a salesman, a smarmy
Mm.
salesman.
To me, she sounds like a kindergartner teacher. Like the way she talks, I think it's just because she's kind of like we know she's not intelligent, really.
Yes.
And so the way she comes across is like she's talking to a kindergarten audience, and it's really kind of it's like this isn't sort of a witty, sharp person. That this is, and even like how tall is she, Hector? She's like 5'4" or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got like a small, witless Jamaican Indian woman. That really speaks America to. It's someone who's going to stand up against Xi Jinping and Bibi Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin. Yeah, that's something. I mean, you see, the way Trump. There's this great video of Donald Trump when he first meets Kim Jong Un, and he literally reaches over over his body, grabs Kim Jong Un's hand, grabs it, and pulls him in, like pulls him in,
Yeah.
and it's like, and he like looks directly, like totally alpha Chad energy, and Kim Jong Un couldn't do shit, and it was on his territory, like
Yeah.
it was on his territory. I mean, it was like, I mean, that is who you want as a leader. You want someone who is fierce, who is aggressive. And Kamala just didn't, in the debates, she just didn't display that at all. Like when Trump was, you know, wiling out, uh, he was like Kamala had these exasperated expressions. It's like people don't.
What's up with like the media response? Like they're going, "Oh, Trump got smashed in the debate." I mean, I watched the debate,
Yeah,
and it's like,
mm, it's cope.
yeah, it's just a cope. Like, there's
That's
nothing.
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
mm,
Kamala got wrecked on some questions. Trump took some baits, some bait comments that Kamala made that he probably shouldn't have taken, and
mhm.
sort of had a whinge about. But it's like the debate wasn't really very one-sided at all. I mean, it was a back and forth, and I'd say probably Trump actually did better overall, to be fair,
Mm,
than Kamala
mm.
if you actually watch the debate. But they just kept going on about like cats and like dogs and Haitians and stuff. It seemed like a weird thing to focus on.
Well, I think that is actually, I mean, remember, people aren't, when they're viewing these things, and I would say this for 100% of human beings, that when you're viewing real life, you're not actually, for the first at least 2 seconds, you're not viewing things intellectually. But those first 2 seconds of whatever you're viewing are probably some of the most important, arguably. And so people are viewing this from an emotional, visceral kind of level. So I mean, those to say simply, that this is sort of, it is very much an emotional sport. So if you can see that people, you can show that on your own side, they're showing pictures and videos of people eating cats and dogs, and then you say that, a total break from this sort of like nonsense, clean cut sort of image that they try to project on TV. I mean, that does actually resonate with the American people. I think that shows that is, what the American people want. I mean, a lot of Americans, and I think we could say this of New Zealanders too, in the similar vein. They watch, the demolition derby. They
Mhm.
look at football, and they run love to watch trucks running into each other, and beasts, steroid ridden beasts, kick a ball around, so it's just like this is kind of like the people. I'm not calling anybody, saying, oh, I'm so much better, my taste, I like to drink wine and eat a baguette in the lavender laden fields of France, but I'm just saying, like, um yeah, I mean, this is how people are, and Trump really resonates with that. So yeah, it's a good. Just again, Kamala just doesn't have that same kind of American appeal in that way. She doesn't understand it. She's often her, you know, highfalutin. Well, I don't even know where she comes from,
Yeah,
but
well, it's like J Smart said, like on our last conversation, that
mm,
Trump relates to the everyman sort of much better than Kamala ever would.
yeah. He did say that, and he was doing the McDonald's thing, and like everybody like crack like you can say whatever you want like about that, but people, I think people love that.
Yeah, well,
Like,
it resonated with people. There's no doubt about that. So,
yeah,
hamburgers won Trump the election, which is pretty interesting for an American election that you won because of hamburgers and McDonald's, but it is what it
yeah.
is.
I mean, maybe it's not so surprising, maybe that makes total sense actually. But Trump is operating on like a 4D chess level where you win the
Hey,
election by handing people fries and
hey, come
hamburgers.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kamala's like a chicken nugget, while Trump is a, double
bro, Kamala.
McMuffin or something.
Yeah, well, no, Kamala is a curry and coconuts. Like those
And
those
Trump's a
Indian
double Big
street
Mac.
vendors. Yeah, Trump's a double Big Mac with fries and a shake, and fucking Kamala is like one of those curry street vendors on the side of New Delhi or Delhi or whatever, and they're using their hands and their armpits and stuff to
Yeah.
knead out the dough and and mix the curry around. And yeah, she's currying coconuts. So I mean, I think it kind of does make sense in a way. Like
Yeah.
you got currying coconuts versus double Big Mac fries and a shake. I mean, the choice is clear, gentlemen. So anyway, we're
Anyways, we
kind
should probably actually get into these polling numbers that we've had
yeah,
up for
okay.
like 20 minutes and not talked about.
Yeah, you go. You start us off. Sorry. Let's go.
So basically, in the polling, Trump is ahead in every single swing state. This is actually quite similar to where he was when he was polling against Biden after that first debate. Well, maybe not quite there, but he's getting there. So he's pulling ahead in every swing state. Nationally, he's tied, and Republicans haven't won the popular vote since like 2000. So that's a pretty big one. The reason for that Republicans haven't won the popular vote is it doesn't really matter if Kamala gets 3 million extra votes in California. Like, that doesn't really help her out that much. So it's been a while since Republicans have even won the popular vote, and he's essentially tied with Kamala, which is a pretty bad sign.
Mm, mm.
And with all the swing states he's ahead, it seems like he's pulling more and more ahead with every passing poll. So it does seem like Kamala's on the ropes, as we're bringing up these wrestling metaphors.
Yeah, he's lying on the ropes while Trump is doing the front kicks over and over again. Yeah.
Yes. And when we compare this to the last election, so there's all these swing states that Trump lost, like Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona. Trump doesn't actually have to win all of them, and he only needs to win about 3 or 4, depending on the states. So
Mm,
just the fact that Trump's ahead, polling ahead in every single swing state now, like, he doesn't even have to win them all. He only needs to win like Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, or like
mm,
Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. It's like
mm.
he doesn't need to win all these swing states, but he's ahead in all of them. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not looking good.
Yeah, not for currying coconuts.
Yeah, I mean, just if you even just look at Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, I believe like just that, plus maybe one other state, or maybe just those states, plus like maybe Nevada or something, would be enough to push him over. So at that point, it doesn't really even matter if Trump
mm,
loses Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, right? Because he would have won these other states, or vice versa. If he wins Pennsylvania, that means it doesn't really matter if he loses in Nevada or Wisconsin or something. So
mhm, mhm.
it looks like Trump's on the road to victory, barring any shenanigans, which is
Yeah, Yeah.
I'd
Could
say
happen.
could happen. It's probably harder to do it this time because the whole thing with COVID was just like a big mess, and it was pretty easy to just stuff like ballot boxes with all these, postal votes
Mm,
they found behind like the office building apparently or something. Like they were lost,
mm,
and then they found it in Michigan or something like that. In Detroit, they just kept finding all these lost ballot boxes, and like 90% of these votes were for Biden somehow. So
mm,
sort of interesting how you had that, but with COVID, I think it will be a lot less hard to sort of stuff the votes with keep saying boats, I mean votes. Stuff the votes with you know, phony postal ballots because there's less of them,
mm,
so it would be a much harder thing to do.
mm.
So just because there's no COVID, I think it actually will be harder to rig it against Trump. So we'll see
Yeah.
how that goes.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, I can imagine people will probably be camping out to make sure no, trolley loads of ballots come in. But yeah, because well, I hope they do. I hope they do. But yeah. So yeah, barring any shenanigans, it looks like he's on the way to victory, um, which is hopeful. But
Yeah, and also
mm,
one of the things that people might not think about is in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and like Pennsylvania's a swing state, Ohio not so much.
mm,
There's a large Amish population there, and it's growing. And these people tend to vote for Trump more often. Like the Amish
mm,
population in Pennsylvania is 50,000 higher than it was last election. So that's actually sort of a good thing for Trump. So if the Amish win Trump, Pennsylvania, that'll be sort of funny.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, with that train collapse thing that happened,
That was in
that's
Ohio. So I mean,
mm,
Ohio is
yeah,
pretty safe. Like, I mean, I can look at the polls for Ohio now. Yeah, Trump up +7. I mean, he won
yeah,
Ohio the
wow.
last two times, so I doubt he's going to lose it this time.
So could we be projected to even win more bigly than Clinton? Do you think?
Potentially.
Mm,
Potentially. I
mm,
mean, if we look at some states that people are saying are, I mean that's not that big of a difference. But there's a poll that came out in New Hampshire where Harris is only apparently 3 points ahead in New
mm,
Hampshire, which is a state that Trump hasn't won in any of the elections. There is states like, let's see what he's doing in New Mexico. All right, now Harris is way ahead of New Mexico. I guess that's not that unsurprising.
mm,
Minnesota potentially. Harris is ahead by, 3 points. So the leads in these states aren't that big. So if there's a bit more of a swing of 2 or 3 points towards Trump, you could see him flip states that, he didn't even win with Clinton, like New
mm,
Hampshire, Minnesota. What else could there potentially be? Maine, maybe? No, Harris is
mhm,
way ahead in Maine, apparently. So
mhm,
there are some states that could potentially flip that people aren't expecting, but you sort of don't even need them. Like all you need to do is
mm,
just win Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, and then the rest of the other swing states don't really matter.
mm. Do you think that's likely that we could see like a flip in maybe Vermont or
In
these other?
in Virginia, looks like Harris
Mhm,
is fairly far ahead in Virginia, so
mm.
probably not
Oh,
likely.
but sorry, I should rephrase that. So, like previous blue states that Clinton or Biden won,
Oh yeah, yeah,
or,
yeah,
or
of
that
course. It looks
yeah,
like yeah. I mean, maybe not so much for Clinton, except Nevada. I think Clinton
uh-huh,
won Nevada, but it's leaning Trump this time, or at least it's pretty close.
interesting.
So that's one that Harris, no, sorry, not Harris, Biden and Clinton both won,
Mm,
but Trump lost both of those times, and he could. It looks like he's ahead in Nevada, so he could flip that, and that was a state he didn't even win under Clinton.
mm,
There's other states like New Hampshire, which are probably a little bit more of a long shot, but it's not unthinkable that,
mm,
or
mm.
Minnesota, that Trump wins in these places.
Yeah, right. I mean, because they have gone through a lot recently, these Americans, and it's like in no time other than now can we just see with freely available information on the internet. Like I think the internet really has been a deal breaker. I'm not just talking about meme magic, but like just very simply like the access to high speed video, with videos everywhere of what's going on the border or COVID scuffles that are happening with like police or like, black people chimping out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's like, it kind of just, I don't believe, but previously, like in the 80s or whatever, and even decades after the 80s, there wasn't this this much for the eye to behold all at once. To really get a very solid pattern of what's going on. So it's like it was reduced to only what people in the cities or wherever an American is, it was reduced to what they would experience, and you could only talk about it. And as you said, Hector, there's basically only the legacy media and the radio available. So it's probably it looks like this is really an inflection point and a huge worldwide shift as we're
Yeah, well, that's the
seeing.
thing. There has been a worldwide shift in Europe and New Zealand a little bit, but towards the right. You have these right-wing populist parties. For better or for worse. I mean, these parties usually aren't perfect, but the ADF, the
Mm,
Freedom Party of Austria, Reform in the UK, the National Front in France. These parties are on the rise, and it would
mm,
be a bit odd if America somehow that sort of doesn't reflect on the same thing when America has a lot of the same problems like lockdowns, mass migration, globalism,
mm. Well, they have
hate
pure
speech.
outright.
Yeah,
Yeah, that I mean, they have like a whole cacophony of they have everything that the UN is employing against other people. Like they're getting like a double dose of that because they really do not like United States because of their free speech and their guns and their way of life. Previously very prosperous, I think are some of the main things. But we don't like a lot of countries, Western countries don't quite have that same sort of I guess you could say excessive sort of focus on sovereignty and freedom and
yes.
yeah, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
which
and
is
they have been trying to erode that in the institutions. I mean,
mm,
American universities are actually sort of more subverted than most universities in places like Europe and even
wow,
even here. Like that's where all these like
yeah,
communist ideas and globalist ideas come from, is straight from American universities,
mm,
which is,
mm,
a bit of a paradigm, a bit of a
mm,
different paradigm to the actual general population of America, which tended to be more patriotic in support of like freedom of speech and
mm,
having a strong border and gun
mm.
rights, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So it is
yeah,
interesting that America was sort of ground zero for this subversion, and a lot of that does have to do with globalist funding from dodgy organizations, including the CIA, that have been
mm,
pushing these ideas. So it
mm,
is sort of
mm.
it is
Yeah.
interesting that
Since
America has both the best and the worst of Western society.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's truly is. I mean, yeah, I really hope that people were saying like it makes no difference, but it kind of actually does make a difference who does win this election.
Well, I mean,
Like
if Harris is in, I'm pretty sure like free speech in America is probably done for.
mm,
Like censorship will be brought up to like a new level.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's gonna you're gonna get pure outright communism and global just pure crap. And with Trump, there are actually quite like yeah, he'll be hampered, he'll be restricted by JD Vance and all these kinds of
Yeah,
types.
PayPal mafia and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, but at least he'll like even as hard as they came down on him last when he bet Clinton, like he we as Alex said, he still got a lot of really good stuff through. So I mean,
I mean, yeah, withdrawing from the World Health Organization is a good one, for example.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So and plenty of others. So even border stuff. So he was there, but it's just like again, why we like Trump isn't Superman. He can't save the world.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly. And like so it's like really it's kind of up to you to do something. I mean, everybody should at least be talking to their friends and family, wherever they're at mentally with this kind of stuff. That's
Exactly.
gonna you're gonna have to play the field and be yeah, you're gonna have to game plan that yourself with your friends and family. But everybody should at least be doing that, and doing that in some way. If not outright being involved in the political sphere and trying to preserve our freedom and our national sovereignty. So, yeah,
Well,
that's
anyways, maybe we should start wrapping up. We should sort of save this stuff for our stream next week, where we're going to go in depth on the lead up to the American election before our live stream on election day. So next weekend, roughly this time, me and Gilbert, we'll have a chat. We'll look at polls, look at different states, look at the news articles. The weekend before the election, then on the election day, 5th of November for Americans, 6th of November for us in New Zealand and Australia. We're going to do our 6-hour, 7-hour, however long it takes live stream, pretty much all day, starting before lunch.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a good one. So make sure you join. Make sure you bring your friends and family. We'll be covering it straight. We'll also have
Guests
Victor.
coming in. Yep.
Yeah, we'll have Victor from Intriga Tropical and Emmett Connor from Resolving Reality. We also should have a couple of other guests coming on. We've had so many guests. It's going to be hard to actually. Yeah, there's actually a lot of people. I talked to so many people now. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, those two are definitely coming on, and we'll see who else might make it. Maybe we can get some.
Maybe Trump will call in. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe
who
you got to
knows?
tune in. Who knows who's going to call in? Maybe Trump will call in. Maybe Biden will call in. Maybe Ted Cruz will call in. Who knows? It could be anyone.
Yeah. But we'll definitely have them, and I'll send a link out to others, whoever else wants to join in. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, and it should be a really good one. And yeah, it should be fun, and
Absolutely.
you'll be engaging in history. So
Yeah.
make sure you join us, share the links, and share our posts and stuff. And yeah, it should be a great time.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll sign off also for today. I'm just going to do a quick shout out. We don't usually do this, but I thought we could do it anyway. That I believe Tim Wills will be doing a live stream today covering the Queensland election. Yeah, he is. So that will be happening later tonight. So if you're interested in election streams, check out our good friend of the show, Tim Wills. He's doing an Queensland election live stream 11 hours from now. So a bit late for us, but I'll tune in. Why not? I'll at least
Why
be
not?
watching. So be sure to check that out, and we'll see you next week. And get ready as well for the amazing live election coverage of the US presidential election, along with the corresponding Senate and House elections. It will be epic.
Epic indeed.
All right. I think that's it. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. It was great talking to our good friend, Alex Newman. And we will see you next week. And as always, stay blessed, not stressed.
See you, everybody.